This is ShadowQuant Forex Edition, brought to you by AriesLabs.ai. Before we begin, please note, what you are about to hear is an AI agent panel. All analysis, voices, and production are generated by artificial intelligence. Nothing you hear constitutes financial advice. Always do your own research. Today is Monday, June 8, 2026, and this is the New York pre-market. Now, let's get into it. Dollar-yen is testing 160.34, near its 5-day high of 160.39. Euro-dollar is at a 5-day low of 1.1532. Gold is down despite a fear and greed score of 14, suggesting a potential short-term bottom. The Fed's 3.62% rate and flattening yield curve are keeping the dollar strong, but geopolitical tensions are complicating the picture. Let's start with the performance grades. SPECTER, you had the best accuracy with a 50% record, including a one-call winning streak. What went right for you?
I called neutral on euro sterling. It was flat, so that was a win. I also flagged the VIX and fear sentiment as key factors. That's what's driving the dollar now.
Grid, your accuracy is 44%. You called bearish on euro sterling, but it stayed flat. What did you miss?
I was too focused on the technicals. The market wasn't reacting to support levels because the macro was too strong. I need to pay more attention to the broader sentiment.
CIPHER, you had 45% accuracy. You also called bearish on euro sterling. What's different this time?
I was looking at the positioning. If leveraged funds are net long, it's a sign of strength. I should have focused more on the flows instead of just the technicals.
Pulse, 47% accuracy. You called bearish on euro sterling, but it didn't move. What's your plan? I need to balance sentiment with the technicals. The Fed's stance and geopolitical risks are more important than just the chart. I'll focus more on the macro. Apex, you had 48% accuracy. You called bearish on euro sterling. What's your new angle?
I need to integrate more of the flows and sentiment into my technical analysis. The dollar's strength is more about the macro now, not just the chart.
Let's talk about the macro and news. We have headlines from the Middle East, with Iran and Israel looking for a ceasefire. The Fed is still hawkish, and the yield curve is flattening. Fear and greed is at 14, and VIX is at 21.51. SPECTER, what's your take on the risk-off environment?
The fear is real, but gold isn't reacting the way it should. That's a red flag. If the dollar is strong and gold is down despite fear, it suggests a potential short-term rebound. We need to watch that.
Pulse, the sentiment is bearish. How does that play into the Fed's stance? The Fed is still hawkish, but the market is already pricing in a lot of rate hikes. The flattening yield curve suggests that growth expectations are low, which is keeping the dollar strong. But the risk-off sentiment is also a factor. Let's start with dollar-yen. It's at 160.34, near a 5-day high of 160.39. Grid, what's your technical read?
The 160.39 level is a key resistance. If the pair can't break above that, it's a sign of weakness. I'm watching for a retest of 159.8 as a potential bearish target.
CIPHER, what about the flows?
Leveraged funds are net long in RC and MXN, but yen is under pressure. The CFTC data shows a net short in yen, which is supporting the dollar. If that continues, dollar-yen could face a pullback.
SPECTER, what's your contrarian view?
I'm not sure the bearish call is the right one. The 160.39 level is a psychological hurdle, but the Fed's stance and geopolitical tensions could keep the dollar strong. I'd be cautious on a short-term bullish move.
Moving on to euro-dollar. It's at 1.1532, a 5-day low. Grid, what's your technical read?
The 1.15118 level is key support. If that breaks, it could head lower. But if it holds, there's a chance for a bounce. I'm watching for a break above 1.156 as a potential bullish signal.
Pulse, how does the sentiment play into this? The fear is driving the dollar, and that's putting pressure on euro-dollar. The euro is weak because investors are favoring the dollar and gold. If the Fed's stance remains hawkish, that could continue. CIPHER, what about the positioning?
Leveraged funds are net long in euro, but that's not enough to push the pair higher. The flows are more supportive of the dollar. If the Fed keeps rates high, euro-dollar could stay under pressure.
Gold is at 4,318.66, near a 5-day low of 4,300.13. SPECTER, what's your take on gold?
Gold is underperforming despite the fear. That's a sign of a potential short-term rebound. If the dollar weakens and the Fed's stance eases, gold could start to recover.
Pulse, how does that tie into the macro? The fear is still high, but the dollar is strong. That's why gold isn't reacting as it should. If the Fed's stance softens, that could change. But for now, the dollar is the safe haven. SPECTER, you pushed back on grid read on dollar-yen. Let's dig into that.
Grid is saying dollar-yen is bearish, but I'm not sure. The 160.39 level is a psychological level, and the Fed's stance is still hawkish. If the dollar continues to hold, there's room for a higher move.
But the CFTC data shows leveraged funds aren't long in yen. That suggests limited upside momentum, and the yield curve is flat, which is a sign of caution. A pullback to 159.8 is more likely.
I agree with Grid. The flows are supportive of the dollar, but there's not much upside. If the Fed's stance remains hawkish, dollar-yen could stay in a range.
So, the debate is between a bearish pullback and a continuation of the dollar's strength. We'll watch how the market reacts to the upcoming CPI data. Let's hear the 24-hour calls. My 24-hour call. Dollar-yen bearish. Target 159.8 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bearish, target 159.8 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bearish, target 159.2 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bullish, target 160.5 by next session.
My 24-hour call, dollar-yen bearish, target 159 by next session.
The consensus is that dollar-yen is bearish, with targets ranging from 159 to 159.8. SPECTER is the only one calling for a short-term bullish move. Watch the CPI data and the Fed stance. They'll be key in determining the direction. This is AI-generated content for informational purposes only, not financial advice. That wraps up this edition of ShadowQuant Forex Edition. Stay tuned for the New York session, where we will see how these calls play out. Until then, trade safe.